Hello, welcome to Talking the Secret Doctrine. My name is Dr. Don Franklin Shepherd, and today we will be examining the various slokas in stanza 7 from pages 213 to 268 in the first volume of H.P. Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine. Once again, we will be using the verbatim edition published by Theosophical University Press, located out at Pasadena, California. The significance of stanza 7 is that it is a synthesizing stanza for H.P. Blavatsky. She spent the previous 6 stanzas developing the cosmogony of the world system from the 3 logoi, the 7-fold mundane egg, down through the solar system into the planetary chains. And now, in stanza 7, she wants to look at the 7-fold human constitution in relation to all of this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the various slokas. We'll read some of them directly, and we'll go ahead and see how H.P. Blavatsky synthesizes her work here with the 7-fold constitution of man leading the way into the second volume of The Secret Doctrine. On page 213, she writes, in sloka 1, "Behold the beginning of sentient, formless life." Well, here we have the first round. She continues. First, the divine vehicle, the one from the mother spirit, Atman, then the spiritual, Atman Buddhi, spirit soul. Again, the 3 from the 1, the 4 from the 1, and the 5, from which the 3, the 5, and the 7. So the 3 from the 1 is Atma, Buddhi, Manas. The 4 from the 1 is Atma, Buddhi, Manas, Kama. The 5 is Atma, Buddhi, Manas, Kama, and Prana. Now, this 5th, this Prana, it holds the 2 lowest principles of Linga and Stula, the astral body and the physical body. And we see, if we turn to page 157, in the first volume of The Secret Doctrine, where Blavatsky draws a classification according to Taraka Raja Yoga, in which the Stula body consists of the vehicle of prana, and Stula Sharira. And this is the reason why we have the 3, 5, and the 7. She continues, these are the 3-fold and the 4-fold downward, the 3-fold being Atma, Buddhi, Manas, the 4-fold downward being the Kama, the Prana, the Linga, and the Stula. The mind-born sons of the first Lord, Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara here being the 7th principle, in this case being the Atma, the shining 7, the builders, and these are overlooking Bhumi, the earth. So she sets the stage quickly here. She's going to be looking at the 7-fold nature of the human being. Let's go ahead and turn some pages, and let's go ahead and take a look at the second sloka over on page 222. She writes, "The one ray multiplies the smallest ray." So, the one ray, Atma, multiplies the smallest rays. The smallest rays, in this case, being Buddhi, being Manas, being Kama, being Prana, being Linga, being Stula. So we have the 1 and the 7. She continues, life precedes form, and life survives the last atom of form. Stula Sharira, the external body. So life precedes form. Life even precedes the formlessness of Atma. And then from the 7th to the 6th to the 5th to the 4th to the 3rd to the 2nd to the 1st principles, Stula Sharira, she's basically laid out a descent from the 7 to the 1. Life, even when the Stula Sharira breaks apart, continues. And let's go ahead and take a look at the next sloka on 231, sloka number 3, and see what she has to say. When the 1 becomes 2, the 3-fold appears. The 3 are linked into 1, and it is our thread, O Lanu, the heart of the man plant called Saptaparna. So when the one being Atma, becomes 2, which is Buddhi, This often in theosophical literature is referred to as the monad. But the third appears, and the third is manas. And when we get manas linked to buddhi and atma, we then have what we really can call the higher man. Now, in part A of our commentary here, H.P. Blavatsky relates this human principled triad back to the cosmogony of the great central sun in Paramatman, the seventh layer of the mundane egg. Let's go ahead and see how she does it. She writes on 231, when the one becomes two, the threefold appears, to wit, when the one eternal here being Atman, drops its reflection into the region of manifestation in this case being buddhi, that reflection, the ray being manas, differentiates the water of space. So we have Atma, buddhi, manas reflect what we've discussed throughout the entire secret doctrine of the immaculate white disk, the dull black ground, and the central point. She continues, or in the words of the Book of the Dead, chaos ceases through the effulgence of the ray of primordial light, chaos being the sixth principle, Atman being the seventh, the light being the seventh, the ray coming from it being the fifth, dissipating total darkness by the help of the great magic power of the word of the central sun. So the central sun, corresponding to Paramatman, the seventh layer of the mundane egg, in this particular case, and from this perspective, corresponding to the seventh principle of Atman in man. It's been referred to before, but we must go back to it once again in volume 2 of the Secret Doctrine. On page 241, H.P. Blavatsky lays out how the great central sun relates to the human principles. And we see there in the middle of the page, in that first paragraph, that she writes as follows. Thus, though the seventh principle reaches man through all the phases of being, pure as an indiscrete element and in impersonal unity, it passes through, the Kabbalah teaches us, the central spiritual sun and group the second, the polar sun, which too radiate on man his Atma. Group 3, the equatorial sun, cement to the buddhi to Atman and the higher attributes of manas, while group 4, the spirit of our visible sun, endows him with his manas and its vehicle, the kamarupa, or body of passions and desires, the two elements of ahamkara which evolve individualized consciousness, the personal ego. Finally, it is the spirit of the earth in its triple unity that builds the physical body, attracting to it the spirits of life and forming his linga sharira. So in this case, here in Sloka 3, the central sun is corresponding to the human principle of Atman. And let's go ahead and turn a few pages and let's take a look at how she examines the sevenfold human nature on page 237 in Sloka 4. This is what she writes. It is the root that never dies, the three-tongued flame of the four wicks. And in her commentary, she writes, the three-tongued flame that never dies is the immortal spiritual triad, the Atma Buddhi, and the Manas. This is the higher man. She's now bringing attention to this because she's moving towards the second volume of the Secret Doctrine, where she's going to develop how these principles come about and inflame the inner soul of humanity. And let's turn the page over to page 238, and we'll look there at Sloka 5, and we'll read directly. The spark hangs from the flame by the finest thread of Fohat. Now the spark here is Jiva, but this is Jiva as the seventh principle. Jiva often in the Secret Doctrine is spoken of as the third, as prana, but here it's the seventh. And we know that because she says that Jiva is hanging from the flame, and in this case, the flame is the third logos, whether of a man or of a solar system or of a universe. It's all the same. So Jiva, as Atma, is hanging from the flame, the third logos, by the finest thread of Fohat. It's very fine because Fohat exists in the three logoi. It more fully exists within the sevenfold mundane egg, or the seven human principles. She continues. It journeys through the seven worlds of Maya. It stops in the first kingdom and is a metal and a stone. So here we have man working through the first round. It passes into the second kingdom, and behold, a plant. Here we have man working through the second round. The plant whirls through seven forms and becomes a sacred animal, the first shadow of the physical man, the ape-like man. Here we have the third round. From the combined attributes of these, Manu, man, the thinker, is formed. Here we have man in the fourth round. She continues. Who forms him? The seven lives, and a sevenfold, and the one life being Oahu. Who completes him? The fivefold law. The fivefold law being Atma, Buddhi, Manas, Kama, Prana. And it's that pranic combination, the Sthulapadi, holding together the ethereal energies of the life, of the astral body, of the physical body that completes man. So we go from 7 to 1. She continues. And who perfected the last body? Fish, Sin, and Soma. Soma, the moon. The moon is representative of the seventh sacred planet. And so we know that we've come to the very bottom of our human evolution. 7, all the way down to 1, and all the way back to 7. Let's go ahead and take a look. As we turn the pages over to Sloka 6, over on page 264, she writes, from the firstborn, primitive, or the first man, the thread between the silent watcher and his shadow become more strong and radiant with every change, reincarnation. The morning sunlight is changed into noonday glory. So let's see what she says about the relationship of the silent watcher to his shadow. In the second sentence there in her commentary, she says, for the present, it will suffice to say that the watcher and his shadows, the latter in numbering as many as there are reincarnations for the monad, are one. The watcher, or the divine prototype, is at the upper rung of the ladder of being, the shadow at the lower. So once again, we have the 7, the highest, going all the way down to the 1, the lowest, the sevenfold man. This is her emphasis in the 7th stanza. Finally, on 265, let's go ahead and look at the 7th sloka and see what she has to say about this in regards to the great age. She writes, this is thy present wheel, said the flame to the spark. So the flame is the third logos. It's the third logos, right above the sevenfold mundane egg. The spark in this case is Paramatman, is the 7th layer of the mundane egg. So we see here that we're actually dealing with a Mahamanvantara, a period of 311 trillion years. She continues, thou art myself, my image and my shadow. I have clothed myself in thee, and thou art my Vaughn, my vehicle, to the day be with us. This is the great age, when thou shalt re-become myself and others, thyself and me. Then the builders, having donned their first clothing, descend on radiant earth. Earth is radiant because it's a little sun in its early stages, and reign over men who are themselves. So it's these 7 principles within the mundane egg that are operating during this great Mahamanvantara. And it's that third logos, that central point in terms of the world system, that brings all of this about. This is H.P. Blavatsky's vision of the sevenfold nature of humanity, the sevenfold human constitution. And she sets the way so that in the second volume of The Secret Doctrine, we will see how humanity develops through these principles to become more and more fully human and ultimately more and more fully divine. Thank you so much.